Joining us now is a man who's playing for playoff contentions this weekend against an NFC North rival that he knows very, very well in Lambeau. He's back-to-back NFL MVP, four-time MVP as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, quarterback for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Aaron, let me lead off by saying your haircut is phenomenal. You look...
Hey, thank you.
Hey, no problem. You look amazing. The speech you gave about leadership after the game at that podium and everything else that's taken place, it seems like you're in an amazing spot. We will definitely dive into that. But the topic of the day, the story of the day, is obviously 24-year-old safety for the Buffalo Bills out of the University of Pittsburgh from Central Catholic in high school, McKees Rock, more specifically. Has a routine tackle last night on Cincinnati against the Cincinnati Bengals in a big game. Goes down, head hits the floor, 9 minutes of CPR, taken to a hospital. Updates have been optimistic. We just talked to Jordan Rooney, who's the marketing rep for Damar Hamlin and family friend who's in the hospital. He's saying that doctors are telling him he's fighting. What was the other way? He's hanging in there.
Yeah. Yep.
He's fighting. So it seems like he's alive, and we got a lot of positive coming out of it. But the fears were that we lost the guy on Monday Night Football. Did you see it? Did you watch it? And what are your thoughts on everything that has taken place in this massively devastating time for Damar Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, well, it's been, tough on the football community, I think, the last 18 hours or so. I actually was not watching the game last night, turned to it, and it's one of those weird things where you turn to something you expect to see, and when you see a non-halftime and they're in studio, I was like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
I just hoping it was like some sort of weather delay or something, but I was thinking, they're playing Cincinnati. And then when they showed, thankfully they didn't keep showing the hit. I think that was...
Agreed.
Let me just say this, first of all, really difficult situation. Obviously, all of our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Really difficult situation for everybody covering that. And I thought there was a lot of class and empathy in a really tough situation by Troy and Joe and Lisa and everybody in studio. It's uncharted waters, and I felt like they handled that as well as they possibly could. And even, it's one of those things where you just keep watching the coverage because you're worried about them and you want some good news and you're hoping to hear some good news. And I reached out to Josh right away. Didn't expect a response. He actually texted me back from the locker room, and just because he's a close friend, and I just felt for him watching his face and just putting myself in their shoes to watch somebody you love on the ground, CPR. I mean, that's when it gets real. Like they're fighting to save this guy's life, not in the locker room or at the hotel or in the hospital, like on the field.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that'd be like to go through. So, really tough night. I mean, I was shook up. Still am feeling weird about it. I think it's your football mortality just comes right face to face because one of your brothers in the fraternity of the NFL is fighting for his life right now. So I'm glad to hear that update from his representation. And that's all we can just hope for right now. I thought, look, there's always going to be second guessing and this hindsight thing. When I turned it on, they had just come back from break and said, all right, they're going to give him 5 minutes and throw him back out there. And I was thinking, what?
Yeah.
So I do want to say this as well. Like, I think one person who deserves a lot of credit in the situation is Coach Taylor. I saw him walk across the field, and just the empathy that I saw in his face and the way he handled that thing. And then obviously, because Coach McDermott, I mean, This is your guy, right? And he was going through it. But just the way that it wasn't even a question. No, we're not going to play this game. What are you talking about? Do you need more time? Do you need any time? Do you want to even play? I mean, that felt like that was a conversation right there. So big kudos to Zach for not saying, we're going to play this. Oh, you got 5 minutes. Okay. I know it's, there could have been so many insensitive, obviously in the moment and also hindsight for sure, moments that could have been had right there. But I thought he handled that thing the exact right way. And whether or not, we can second guess the NFL and all the decisions afterwards, but I don't know, had it not been for Zach, and Coach McDermott coming together, would they have not gone to the locker room and tried to play? Because playing at that point was not even close to important as this young man's life.
Okay, so Troy Vincent has come out and said that we never said anything about 5 minutes. And we talked about it in the first hour. In the football world, somebody gets an ACL, they move the drill 10 yards. And I didn't know that. When it first happened, when I got dropped into the football culture and I saw it, I was like, oh my God. The 5 minute thing last night is kind of like, let's just move the drill here. Once we get this guy off the field, we'll go. The NFL has been, Ian Rappaport reported that the NFL came out very strongly and was like, we did not say that ever. So I think we do have to find out who was the person that seemingly went and was like, yeah, we're back on this field. Let's do it. And that person should be removed from all competition, let alone the NFL, but all competition. So whoever told Joe, Joe didn't make that up. He's fucking Joe Buck. Joe Buck is one of the most premier people of all time. And Joe Buck's not saying it if it's coming from somebody that isn't important. Like Joe Buck knows and gets it. So that person, whoever did that, needs to go because that spun an entire narrative quickly. The NFL just wants to get back on the field. Why haven't they canceled the game? And I think you're right. I think when Zach Taylor and McDermott were talking there with the ref, what's it, Smith? I think Sean? Is that his name?
Sean Smith, yeah.
I think he's a pretty good ref, right? Seemingly a pretty good ref. I think he has more personality and human instincts than other refs. He has been around a lot longer. I think what we were told is his microphone and earpiece was being used on the field for New York to be a part of that conversation as well, allegedly. So if they don't have that convo, does the NFL say, or do they come to the decision, go back to the locker room? We have to find that out. But you're 100% right. Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott showcased leadership last night that you can't just learn about in a coaching book. Just had to clarify that has come out this morning. I don't know if you saw that or not. AJ, go ahead, pal.
Aaron, we were talking earlier about Coach McDermott and the true, like you said, both these coaches, obviously unbelievable leadership, something they never thought they'd probably be thrown into a situation like this. But if you're Sean McDermott, what can he say to his team? What can they do moving forward? I just don't know. It seems crazy to me. And he's already, how he's handled it from the jump has been, at least publicly, has been amazing. I would assume all those guys are very shaken up. How do they even, what do they do, you think, over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking last night, every thought kind of, crosses your mind. What are they going to do with the game? They're just going to move it to tomorrow and, all right, we're going to, and then, then what about playoff and all this other bullshit that, gets thrown around that doesn't really matter. I don't know. I've been a part of a few games where they've carted guys off and we've had players with neck injuries and it shakes you to the core. And that's injuries where they're awake and alert, and many of them gave thumbs up or whatnot, and it still shakes you. It's like 10, sometimes 15-minute delays in the field, and all right, well, just go back out there and play, even though your buddy just might not ever play again, and we're hoping he can walk. It's a weird feeling, but in this situation, this is unprecedented. Definitely during my time, I don't know about before, but I've never seen something where a player had to be given CPR on the field and it supposedly didn't have a pulse for a little bit. I thought there's no way they're going to go back in the locker room and then come out and play. What? That can't happen. Even if they got this information, he's alert at the hospital and he's doing okay. It's I don't know what they just witnessed. And they witnessed it. Literally on the field. This just happened right here. My teammate. It's like the soccer player from Switzerland, right? A few years ago that had that bizarre. I was watching that game live, going, "Oh my God, what just happened to that guy? He just had some sort of cardiac something." And then his teammate gave him CPR in the field, I believe, that helped resuscitate him and allowed him to come back. So what do you say to the guys? I don't know. I mean, I just think you maybe have the best situation. Just have an open forum to allow guys to just share their emotions. I think as men, sometimes we're so conditioned maybe to suppress everything, to just put on a good face and, we're going to tough through this. I don't really think that's the approach. I think it's to talk about the mortality of this game, talk about the risks involved, talk about, how that brings us together, and that bond that we have is so special because we know that these kind of things could happen. You don't ever think they're going to, but I think having a forum where we can talk about our mortality in this game and what we what we go through to play it and what we put on the line post career as well.
Roger Goodell sent a memo to all coaches and GMs and everybody laying out what took place last night, and then also said that your player development person should reach out to Dr. Nilapti. There's a mental health psychologist that is Nilapti. Have your player engagement lead or team clinician contact Dr. Nilapti about mental health and support resources that are available to your players and staff was sent out this morning from Goodell. And you said something that we said, that AJ said, that I had a lot of former teammates and guys around the league text me last night like, hey, this fucked me up a little. Like, I don't think a lot of us thought like how shook we would be I was like actually shook last night. And I think it's because you don't expect that at all to happen on a football field, especially in the NFL. It was a routine tackle. That was a routine hit in the NFL. And it seems like every person that has played in the NFL, AQ included here, AQ hasn't really been able to say anything because everybody, every position has felt the same. Why do you think it was? Do you think it's because we never expected it or because it was one of our guys? Like, it fucked up everybody, I think, Aaron. And I think this is a good decision by the NFL. And I think it really is something that people should address over the next few days at least about the severity of everything that just took place in a league that we all love. It fucked us up, I think, Aaron. Honestly, it did. It's been tough.
Yeah, I think a lot of great points in there that you said. But, I just go back to what I said in the beginning, like, as much as there's rivalries and there's distaste for certain individuals that you play against and there's bad blood, at the end of the day, there's one thread that connects all of us, right? And it's that we know that we are the modern day gladiators, right? We are providing entertainment for the masses and doing something we love, but we're also putting our bodies and our future health on the line. And I think that's one thread that connects all of us, that we have a respect for what it takes to go out on the field and play, and the attention to this being a 365-day-a-year job and the stresses of physical health and mental health and emotional health that it puts on us, and that we put our bodies on the line because we love doing it, because we love competing, and we enjoy providing entertainment for people. But at the end of the day, you don't think these type of things are going to happen. And when it does happen, everything gets thrown out. A rivalry, distaste for a certain team, whatever it might be that might separate you a little bit, that's all gone when it's one of your guys. And I the three of you on the show, obviously you've all played, and I think we all feel the same way, whether you're currently playing or done playing. Like, you're shook about this because you just never thought you would see something like this on the field. It's bad enough when you see a guy getting carted off, right? That's like, that messes with you. Or you see a guy take a really bad concussive shot, right? And you're like, man, like, I don't want that to be me. Like, am I going to be able to have my cognitive function that I want at 50 and 60? And what kind of risk am I really setting myself up for? But this kid's 24 years old, right? This really, it fucked me up last night.
Yeah, all of us, literally. I would assume that I would expect me to be fucked up from watching that type of situation, but it was just a different feeling. And then once these text messages, people that I've never texted with before, like around the league that I've known or whatever, get my number last night and they're like, hey man, this, just wanted you to know, because I assume you're going to have to address this at some point, like, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, and I've been out of the league 10 years or whatever. Like, it really was something that seemingly has everybody shook, and we will wait and hope for a positive update on Damar. Now, let's talk about you here a little bit in the Green Bay Packers. How does this affect you guys, you think? How do you think LaFleur will handle this? Because this is obviously massive week for your entire program. What do you think the next steps are for everybody around the NFL and the Packers more specifically?
Well, I think that's, mental health is so important in our culture now, and I think there's a lot better language around it. A lot of the stigmas have been kind of erased. A lot of the myths around it have been debunked. It's an important part of your overall health, is taking care of your mental health. And we're fortunate enough to have a full-time mental health support on our staff with Dr. Carr, and he's a phenomenal resource. He's been great for so many of us in talking through a lot of different things, a lot of it sports performance related, but even in situations like this, I think he can be a great resource. But I think there needs to be a conversation around it. I don't think you just gloss it over like, oh, on to the Sunday Night Football to play-in game for the playoffs. It's like, let's just take a little time out here. Let's remember what's really important. Let's hug your loved ones. Text the people you care about, tell them you love them, because this is a good moment to kind of pause and contemplate and reflect and show some empathy and respect for not just Hamlin, but for every player that laces them up every single week. And I think anybody that has anything to say on this should have the opportunity to say it. There is obviously in our league, we're creatures of habit. There's this, business as usual. Get on the schedule and keep things going. You know what I mean? But this is too big of an event for us to just gloss it over and just let's get back to work. And we're not even affected by it. We weren't playing the game, and that wasn't our teammate. But that's still one of our brothers, who's down and fighting for his life. And I think it's important to show the proper respect for him and for the Bills and everybody involved in that event.
Yeah, I think you're right. And hopefully every team will do that, because just as somebody that's outside of it looking in, this has affected everybody in the locker room in the NFL. So eager to see how it all, pans out, and we hope for updates very soon. You just mentioned it, Sunday Night Football play-in game, okay? This is a big deal. A couple weeks ago, you were getting run out of town. Let's have Jordan Love. You spoke after the game about your leadership and what you resigned to, maybe the thought that you're washed or something like that. And then every time
Not that I'm washed. No, resigned to some of those ideas that it was time to move on, time to play Jordan and give up on the season or whatever.
Okay, well, I'm happy you don't think you're washed, because guess what? You're not. New haircut, too. Looking real young. Yep. But that speech about leadership and what how you viewed the season and how everything was, I think was awesome, first of all. I think it was an incredible sign of leadership. I think it's a great quarterback to have. Your locker room getting to this point, how proud of that group are you? And honestly, do you feel like your team is close enough to be able to battle something as traumatic as what's going on in Buffalo to get a massive win this week? Like, how do you think your team responds to this? And what are your thoughts on your locker room?
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of thoughts around that. It's hard to kind of put words to them, to be honest, because I think so much of us have been a little jarred by last night. Most of us, either watch or check in or check on our phone what's going on. And I've watched a few more games this year just because I love Joe and Troy so much, and I enjoy their commentary. And so I've checked in on Monday Night Football maybe more than I have in the past. And to check on that and to see what happened was tough, man. There was multiple hours of just kind of silence, I didn't really want to, I was kind of refreshing my Twitter a lot after he got taken away, just hoping that, there was going to be some sort of update, which never came. And at one point I just had to stop because it's this loophole of just depressive thoughts about him and about football mortality and about everything, the future and all that. So when it comes to the game this week, I can promise we'll be ready to play. We have a tight-knit group. We've gone through a lot of adversity on our own squad. And to go from 4-8 and to be down in the fourth quarter against Chicago to be 8-8, and not just 8-8, but 8-8 and controlling our own destiny, nobody would have thought that 5 weeks ago. There's just, nobody would have thought that. Now, I had a glimmer of hope, and I've mentioned it, thinking we could run the table and win the last 5 for sure. But there wasn't many people that gave us any shot, and even still, there was a lot of things that had to happen. Washington had to lose a bunch of games, and Seattle had to lose a couple, and Detroit had to lose another one, and everything just kind of fell into place. Now we're sitting here going, shoot, we're hosting a playoff game. Obviously, we're a big draw. You saw the numbers on Christmas. So they put us in the primetime slot, even though there's some other games out there that can be, to both teams can maybe have win in their end. Now, if Seattle ends up losing at the 325 slot, then obviously that game will be a playing game for both of us. If they don't, then they'll just try and play spoiler. But yeah, we'll be ready to play. I love the character of our team. We've really come together. It's weird because there's been years where by week one we have this identity and we just kind of ride it throughout the season. And there's ups and downs and adversity. But this year I just felt like we were really trying to figure out who we were for a long time. And part of that's we're a young team. Part of that is just every season you got to learn how to win again. And we went through a really rough stretch after London. But I'm really proud of our guys. There's so many great personalities in the locker room. It's one of those teams where you just love everybody on the squad. There's not like some outsiders. Everybody's really, I think, feels like they're a part of it. And I think that's due to the culture that we've created, the leadership, the framework that Matt has kind of put on the squad. And then, the type of guys that we brought in, not just players, but coaches like Rich Bisaccia. He's helped change the culture, and he obviously pushed for Dahn Levitt to come in, and Keyshawn Nixon, who's been such a big part of our success. And then, some of us old guys just really embracing our role. And for a lot of us, it's been a bigger leadership role. For Big Dog and myself and Randall Cobb, statistically it hasn't been our best seasons, but as far as the leadership standpoint goes, I think we've showed up in exactly the way that we've needed to at the right time for our guys, and we're happy to be sitting here with a lot to play for in January.
That's awesome.
Hey, how do you guys, I guess, approach this game like you have the rest of them? Like throughout this season, like you said, not a whole lot of people gave you guys a chance. Now all of a sudden, here we are. Expectations. People are saying, "Oh, you don't want to play the Packers in the playoffs." Like that's the old cliche they're saying about you guys now. How do you approach this week and not put too much on this game? Actually,
yeah, I mean it's funny how the narratives change, right?
Yeah, they want you now. It sounds like they want you now. A couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
get them the hell out
exactly.
of here.
We've been playing. We were 3-6 in Dallas. I never liked the term must-win game. I feel like somebody once said like the only must-win was World War II. Somebody said that one time, and I remember thinking, yeah, I agree. Like that was a must-win situation. Like we had to win that, right?
We
So
did.
the world can look a little better than the alternative. So I've never liked to use the term must-win. I just feel like that should be saved for like life and death situations like that, war. So. But we've been playing in these really important, win or go home type scenarios for a while now. A lot of people said it was like, starting in Dallas and we won that one, then we lost to Tennessee, then we're out, then we lost to Philly, then we're out. I always felt like as long as we're mathematically alive, then we're in it. And even at 4-8, I said, if we just get this one, probably said on the show, if we just get one, you never know what can happen. You never know what the momentum. And then we get another one. You never know what can happen. No, then we're playing Miami. There's no way you're going to beat Miami. They're an up-and-coming team. They got a dynamic offense, a great defense. You're going down there, you're not going to beat them. Then we beat them. Oh, then you play in Minnesota. Yeah, they're still playing for the top seed. They're a really good football team. They won 11 games, one-score games. You're not going to beat them. Okay, then we beat them. It's like, well, now what are you going to say? Okay, now you're going to change the whole narrative. Oh, now nobody wants to see the Packers in the playoffs. I got it. So if you follow along with the narrative, you really ride this crazy roller coaster throughout the season. I never really have. I've just always believed in my guys, believed in myself, and obviously love where we're at. We don't have to have anybody do anything. A lot of people have done a lot of great things. Big kudos to the Browns last week for that win. But a lot of people have done a lot of things for us. Now nobody needs to do anything for us except us winning a game against a real good opponent at home on Sunday night.
You did say we're not eliminated. Whenever I said, there's conversation right now, and I try to remind you of all those narratives. So I apologize for bringing that into your life.
No. I love the narratives. They're great.
Yeah.
I just don't ride them like a roller coaster.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows. Chuck Pagano, the ebbs and flows. Keep your blinders on. Let's stay even keel. You know what I mean? Impossible sometimes, especially with how loud it gets. But it did get very loud for you guys. And I brought up, hey, have you ever thought about letting Jordan go in there whenever you guys are eliminated? This is the conversation. You go, we're not eliminated. That was like your immediate reaction was, we're not eliminated. That was the first thing you said. And I think that type of leadership is a big deal. Like, I think I think that probably radiated through the building. I think you did all that. You should be proud of yourself, pal. A lot of things were said about you negative-wise. And here we sit in a position in which nobody wants to play the Packers. Now, I don't want to be a spoiler to that narrative. They're saying that just because they want to hype you back up. So if you lose again, they can. This team was supposed to.
Gotcha.
This is supposed to be the team nobody wanted to play. You know what I mean? So that's happening to you immediately. But It has been quite a ride this season for you guys as you try to find your new identity. Seemingly have. Ty has a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron, I'll reiterate what Pat said. The haircut looks absolutely fabulous. Give me 2010 vibes, which I fucking love. I was one of those dipshits who was kind of riding the ebbs and flows, but I think deep down I always knew, like, hey, we got Rodgers, baby. We're going to be okay. They're going to turn it around eventually. And then Sunday happens, and, like, that was, as a Packers fan, I mean, I can't remember having that much fun watching a game in a really long time. For all you guys, you are playing your best ball right now, and was it kind of just like a reminder to everyone that, like, hey, when we play complementary football and all three phases are contributing, which hasn't really happened a bunch this year, like, we really, you mentioned it earlier this year, it's like, hey, on some days I feel like we could lose to anybody, and I feel like we can beat anybody, but right now it really does feel like you guys can beat anybody. Does it feel like in the locker room that you are playing your best ball right now? And it's like, you mentioned it. Everything's ahead of you guys still. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the confidence level is really high. I look at the way that we're playing in all three phases, and that was as well as we could play in all three phases, which we hadn't really done all season. Now, we've been trending definitely the last few weeks for sure in playing a lot better football, complementary football. Special teams coming up with at least one big play a game. Defense coming up with turnovers. They've been forcing a lot of turnovers. We had 4 turnovers forced, on Sunday. Keyshawn runs a kickback for a touchdown. Sav has a pick 6. Smash has a pick. Rudy has a pick. Kenny has a forced fumble and sack, forced fumble recovery. And then offensively, we took care of the football. We were efficient. Jonesy had 100 yards rushing. We got the ball, around us and different guys. Bobby scored a touchdown. I, had a little touchdown run.
A little wiggle.
We're playing well in all three phases, and the confidence level is high. I think a lot of that is due to players, specific players. This is a players' game. It ain't about the X's and O's, right? It's about those guys who line up every single Sunday and the confidence that they play with. And we got 59 back from his injury, Devontae Campbell. He's been playing really, really well. I think he's been a spark for us. Sav was benched for a while and comes in, plays real well in the second half last week against Miami, and then had a really nice game, obviously, on Sunday. I give him a ton of credit for his professionalism. Special teams, we got a dynamic returner now. And we have guys who own their roles and block. And then offensively, when Dave's back, Dave is an all-pro left tackle. That's without question. Dave is an all-pro left tackle, and he locks people down, and he's phenomenal. And next to him, recently paid, Elton Jenkins, has been a lot more consistent once he's settled into his left guard role. I think Josh has been very consistent at center. Runyon's been as consistent as anybody at right guard. And Yash and Zach Tom, Zach coming in after Yash got a stinger, Zach played really well. So being able to have that consistency with our guys and certain guys with that confidence stepping in, owning their roles, and leading and playing at a high level, that's how you win games. So in 59, who had an incredible year last year and gets hurt and comes back and gets back to playing the way he was playing, that gets everybody going. When Sav doesn't complain, right, and comes back in the second half and has a really nice half and then a pick 6 and plays really, really well, that energizes guys. When Elton shows that consistency, when Dave comes back and you're just like, oh, okay, we're good on the left side, that gives guys confidence and energy. This is a player's game. And our primetime players, our big-time players, have stepped up and played at a high level.
I think what you're explaining there also goes to the special teams. Whenever you have a dynamic returner, and obviously Bisaccia is an incredible coach, and a big part of being a special teams coach is getting everybody to buy in. But if you got a guy behind you, you don't want to be the one that fucks that up, blocking. Like, guys, I don't want to be. That hole that he had to run through was never a part of the Green Bay Packers scheme before Nix comes around. Sets it up perfectly. Everybody's getting their blocks, and then he makes a couple moves and reads it perfectly, and he's gone. It's like everybody is confident on your team, and it's at the right time, Aaron. Hey,
Yep.
Aaron, this is the right time for this to be taking place here with obviously a should win, must win, have to win. Playoff win, not must win.
Need to win to make the playoffs.
Need to win.
There it is.
Okay. World War II, solid must win.
Yeah.
Probably the must-win.
Yeah.
Number one of all
Up
time.
there,
Yeah.
very high up there.
But it's awesome to watch your team go. It's awesome for you. Hey, you're moving a little bit. Hey, pal, you're starting to run a little bit more. Is it the haircut? Huh? Is it the haircut that made you feel a little bit younger? How about you slapping the bass, too, after a touchdown? Huh? How about it? What's going on? Do we got the gold zone back? I saw the gritty parade that took place.
Sweet.
It was as if it was a wedding. Saw you. Hey, you were killing it. Had drums, had a guitar.
Did you see D-Bach, though, on the sacks?
No, I did not see the sacks. I saw him coming
You
in
gotta
late.
go back and watch it. NFL had some view where they showed, like, I don't know how they had it. They pieced together video, but it had, like, everybody kind of doing their part, and Dave was killing the sacks. I'll give him that.
Well, I don't know if it was like Trey Daniels who did the national anthem for the Colts game,
Chance.
who with his sack, I'm sure Bach has a great saxophone. I'm sure that's fantastic. But the confidence, the play, feels like everything's timing up perfectly.
Listen, you want to be playing your best football late in the season, and usually we're fighting for playoff seeds, and you want to be healthy and playing your best ball. And we haven't done that over the years. There's been a lot of years we didn't play our best ball going to the playoffs, or we weren't healthy, and we had some early exits. The last time we won a Super Bowl, we had to win and get in, and we were playing our best ball late in the season. So we've won 4 in a row. 16 year, we had to win 6 in a row to get in. Made it to the NFC Championship. This football team is much better than that football team was. I think, Paige, you can probably speak to that, but although you weren't there. So we were probably better without you.
You're better now. You're better now. I wasn't there in
Definitely
16
better
years.
now. You didn't have AJ on the team? Definitely better
better,
now. Yeah, 100%.
But I like the way we're playing. I like the confidence. Look, it's a weird thing, always saying, parents say to their kids, I'm sure AJ says it to his 10 kids when they go out and play, it's like, hey, have fun out there. It's like, yeah, okay. And you say it to, like, professionals, like, oh, let's just go have fun. It's like, well, you have fun when you're winning, right?
Hell yeah.
But also, I will say, the way that you practice during the week, the way that you prepare, the way, the mood of the locker room has a lot to do with how you play on Sundays. I really feel like a loose team that's hanging out and joking with each other and spending time with each other naturally is going to go out and play a little bit more free. And whether that was 4-8 and everybody's like, fuck it, what's the worst that could happen? We're eliminated. Or whether it was the guys coming back and playing with that pride, that competitive greatness, I'm not sure exactly what it was. But whatever recipe we got going right now has been making some pretty sweet music.
Do you win because you're having fun, or are you having fun because you win? That is the old adage. I think you have fun and you're happy, probably going to have success. You think back to the Philadelphia Eagles, that team meeting before the NFC where they're playing Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares, and it was the team meeting room before the Super Bowl, and the entire team is, hold up, wait a minute, and then the O-line coach, I think, was standing on a chair like this. I'm like, this team is going to this team's going to win. They obviously do. You guys with the gold zone that entire time, every touchdown, it felt like everybody was happy and everybody was pumped. It's great to see. I can't wish you enough luck this weekend against that team from Detroit. I'm pulling for you. Can't wait to chat with you next week.